Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk. I actually got the timing of the day right for the first time in about 5 shows. But good afternoon, everyone. Graham Punez has been talking shit about Manchester United again, and we want to discuss that for 100%. What's Manchester United's best 11 with the full squad in mind? We're going to review the next 5 games, which look very, very tough in some of them. And Sir Jim Ratcliffe has been speaking about Manchester United as well. Only a short clip, but we will discuss it towards the end of the show. So, as always, get your opinions in, smash like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow us on social media for all the news, reels, content, etc. We've got Shreyas alongside me, as always. I was going to call you my sidekick, but you're definitely not my sidekick. You're my equal. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing very well today. Excited to get into the show, and once again, everyone who will be hopping on, make sure to interact in the comments, and me and Nick will surely, get into it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm not sure if you had a clue what we was talking about today, but you're in for a treat. So we're going to kick it off with Graham Souness. Okay, so as we know, as United fans, Shreyas, we know Graham Souness likes to talk shit. Being an ex-Liverpool player, is just kind of what he does. He can't keep the name of Manchester United out of his mouth. And the first target that he's gone for is Rasmus Højlund. So what he said is, I don't think Manchester United are going to be any better than they were last season. They spent £72 million on a young centre-forward in Rasmus Højlund, who has not got a great goal-scoring record. He played 34 games for Atlanta and only hit the back of the net 10 times. Now he's come to a league where it's really tough to get goals. I might be wrong, but it's one hell of a gamble for somebody that doesn't have a proven track record. And I thought this was interesting, right? Because I was having a look at how much they spent on Darwin Núñez, which was, of course, was €80 million.
Yeah.
And if you used to take a guess at who's got more in more competitions, goals and assists, most people would think, oh, it's Darwin Núñez, of course. No, it's not. It's definitely not. It's Rasmus Højlund, 16 goals, 7 assists, I think he had. Núñez had 15 goals and 4 assists in all comps. But because obviously Darwin Núñez is a Liverpool player, that doesn't fuel his agenda in that sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is what it is. What are your thoughts on them quotes?
It's a typical target at Manchester United. Like every single season, whenever we sign a player. Last season, it was Lisandro Martinez. He shut him down. It was Casemiro. Casemiro shut him down as well. Now, Rasmus Højlund is the new target for him. And to be very, very honest with you, it's good that he's gone. He's targeted him, because every single player that he's targeted has, become by far one of the world class players for us going into the season. Be it Casemiro, be it Lisandro Martinez. So you never know. Maybe Rasmus Højlund can follow in the same footsteps. But once again, if you have to compare, like you mentioned, Darwin Núñez, Dominic Szoboszlai is not really a safe signing. He's even a big gamble signing as well for the money that he's been brought in with, and someone who can just function as a 10, has no defensive work rate, has no defensive abilities, and in that system where Liverpool actually play, they don't really need a 10. They've already got McAllister. They've already got someone who can play box to box and as a 10. They need a 6, which they still don't have, an out and out 6 who can do a job for them week in and week out. So, if I'm being totally blunt, I think the kind of signings that Liverpool have made in this transfer window, barring 1 or 2, all of them are gamble signings. Every single one of them. With United, on the other hand, I think Mason Mount will be a sensational signing for us. I think Rasmus Højlund will actually, slowly and steadily, as he integrates more into the team, he's only going to get better and better and better. Like of that 20-minute performance, I think to judge him will be still unfair, but he still looked really, really good. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets double digits across all counts. If he gets double digits, I genuinely wouldn't be surprised at all, because he has it in his locker. And if you have to look into Onana, I think Onana has established himself already in this league. The way he has played in the first 4 games, he's been absolutely incredible. And on the other hand, I think with the youth that we have got coming up, and with the existing talent that this team has, and now that Amrabat is also in this window, going to be a part of this team, I think we've actually, in comparison to most of the teams in the league, I think we've done smart, and I think we've made considerably better signings, because all of these players, they will actually, be a part of our starting 11. They won't be bench warmers.
Absolutely, I agree with that. And he's not Rasmus Højlund ain't the only target. He's spoken about Onana. He's spoken about a few other players as well, which we'll talk about. Dan's in the chat saying, I've missed the start. What Souness said, I'll read it out for you now, Dan. So he said, this is just the first bit on Rasmus. He said, I don't think United are going to be any better than they were last season. They spent 72 million on a young centre-forward in Rasmus Højlund, who has not got a great goal-scoring record. He played 34 games for Atlanta and only hit the back of the net 10 times. Now he's come to a league where it's really tough to get goals. I might be wrong, but it's one hell of a gamble for somebody that doesn't have a proven track record. And we mentioned that he had better stats in all comps than Souness last season. Souness was bought for more money, but because he's a Liverpool player, that doesn't fuel his agenda effectively. Right, on to the next bit then, where he's talking shit. To be honest, this bit is probably out of all the quotes, and I've actually read the article, so I know this isn't taken out of context. Out of all of them, this is the one that I slightly agree with a bit of it, but there's still a bit in it where you're like, okay. He said, I wrote an article 5 years ago stating it was the last chance saloon for Anthony Martial, yet he's still starting matches as their main focal point. He isn't a Manchester United player. He'll get you excited and then let you down. So the first bit of it, I think we've gone on record, Shreyas, before. I think we can openly say that Martial has had enough chances and we would probably move him on, right? So we'd probably agree with that bit, right?
Yeah.
But him saying he's still starting matches as their main focal point. So he started twice out of 4 games so far this season. As we both know, he only had 11 starts last season because he was injured the most of the time. So he's not always starting for Manchester United. I think Rashford has probably played more.
And last season, we played pretty much like 60 games or 62 games throughout the course of the season. Yeah. And if you have to say a player is starting 11 games in all of those 60 or 62 games, he's not a focal point. Weghorst has got more starts and appearances than Martial last season. Even Sabitzer, I think, has equal amount of appearances in comparison.
I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo left the club in last year, November.
Yeah.
And he's probably got more starts, or if not close. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
So is Ronaldo the focal point, even though he's not?
Yeah. Oh, it must be. It must be going by Graham Souness' standards.
If last season you have to go by appearances, Rashford was the focal point of this team. Yeah. Throughout the attack, he was the focal point. Left wing, right wing, striker, 10, every single position. If you have to say who's the focal point, Rashford was the focal point. For Martial to be a focal point, he should at least have to start half the games. Like in 60 games, he has to start 30 games. And I don't think that last season, even combined starts and appearances, even if you combine them, I don't think Martial is going anywhere above 20 even, because he's been injured all the time. So I think, yes, Martial is not good enough to be a Manchester United striker for us to start week in and week out. But right now, the position that we are in, if he's at least able to get his fitness right, we've got a good backup striker, who can at least, you can chip him in 20 minutes, or just play him in the league games, because you need depth. And now that, he's not left, you have to make some use of him in one way or the other, because you cannot expect Rasmus Højlund to play, like, if we do play once again 50 or 60 games a season, you do not expect him to start 60 games. You need someone else to actually take the mantle in like 10 or 20 games of them, so that Højlund can get a rest as well.
I think the lads in the chat both make great points. Sean saying Souness is the biggest knob going and smallest at the same time. Yeah. And then Dan Emerson says, great point. Rooney was also a risk when we bought him. He had a good season at Everton, but there are times that risks work out. Exactly. I think there's 3 main points on that Martial bit. Do we need to sell Anthony Martial? Absolutely. Does Graham Souness have a problem with French players with a bit of character or personality about him? Definitely, because he always speaks about Martial. He always speaks about Paul Pogba, even though he's not even here anymore. Will what he says affect Martial? Probably not. So, in hindsight, whatever you want to call it, Martial ain't going to be bothered about that. Now let's talk about the goalkeeper, because this is another interesting quote. He says, I think Onana will make them better at playing out from the back, but will he do the most important thing in keeping the ball out of the back of the net? I'm not sure about that one. I don't know if anyone remembers I don't know if you know these guys, Shreyas, but there was 2 pundits in England called Andy Gray and Richard Keys, who used to do the Premier League in the 90s, right? And they got sacked, basically, for having like misogynistic views and speaking about women linesmen. They can't do the job because of women and all this kind of stuff. So they moved out to beIN Sports, which is what they host now in it's not Saudi, in Qatar, I think it is. And they did a video on De Gea a couple of months ago, just talking shit, basically, just like he's still one of the best in the world and all this kind of stuff. And I know you was a fan of De Gea yourself, but it was clear to see that he needed to go, right? This sounds like he's taken a page out of this book, this kind of 90s, 80s, old school gentleman's book, and saying like, oh, they should do the job and save and blah, blah, blah. But we've watched Onana I even went back through all the games yesterday, and even the Champions League final. The save he made against Haaland, that one in the Arsenal game, which we did a watch along for. Remember the one at point blank from Saka, where it's straight across the ring, and he actually does a De Gea-esque save, like with his shin, and saves it. Fabio Silva, Wolves as well, makes a great save. So, in your opinion, is he a good shot stopper as well, or an elite shot stopper from what you've seen?
He is, and throughout the course of last season, a lot of people just have actually just watched him playing in the Champions League final. But except that, during the league as well, it's not that that Serie A doesn't have good strikers. They have some really really blessed strikers, some that can actually trouble a lot of goalkeepers. And Onana came on top of every single one of them, whether it's Vlahovic, whether it's Tammy Abraham. Like Tammy Abraham had one of his worst games in a Roma shirt against Andre Onana, I would say. I think Andre Onana has always had a trump card, especially in this area because of the way that league is played. Onana is by far a dominant factor playing across that back line. And on the same his shot stopping ability, I haven't seen him making any blunders. Just take the first four games into consideration. He hasn't made any blunders in those first.
What were your thoughts on the the one that was deflected in the Arsenal game? Because Peter Schmeichel said he should have saved that. I don't personally think it was savable, to be honest with you. Do you think that was too harsh?
Yeah, I think it was. But it's been the same theme with United goalkeepers all the time. It happened with De Gea during his tenure as well. That he should be saving that. I remember we had a game against Southampton where James Ward-Prowse, and people were saying he should be saving that. I'm saying that no goalkeeper in the world.
Unless you're fucking Spider-Man, you ain't saving that.
So it's just an agenda against United goalkeepers, and it's been happening for a long time. And I think it will be the same for Andre Onana. The only difference being that with Onana, things will be much more visible because of the way he actually plays. With De Gea, it used to be game after game after game, he's making save, Golden Glove, making 13 saves in a single game, carrying the team across his back. So it used to be something. With De Gea, you had to judge him after every single game. With the case with Onana is you don't need to judge him off every game because his distribution and the way he actually controls that back line, the way he is able to push that line up, you can see it evidently that attackers don't want to press him, and that's where goalkeeper actually wins his battle in the way that Ten Hag plays.
Yeah, let me get a couple more comments. Let me have a look. I just think Souness hates United and players that play for them. In 10 years' time, Souness, where's Pogba and all this? You have to ask yourself, where's Pogba and all this? I can't hear the other fella's audio. It's terrible, apparently. Shreyas, do you want to have a look at your audio?
1 sec.
Check your levels and I'll finger. David Pearson is saying Souness Park, obviously relation to Jurassic Park. The home of the dinosaur pundits is an arse. Lost all respect for him after that cartwheel. Yeah, exactly. I think some very, very smart people in the chat. And it is dinosaur analysis. I don't know, that's why Sky Sports moved him on. Anytime he was on a game and you listen to him, it was like his mind was so stuck in the 80s and 90s when it comes to football. And football has moved on so much since then. It's a completely different game now, but they still analyse it in their own way, saying they should be doing this, they should be doing that, when in reality, you should probably be retired yourself, mate, and not talking about football. How was our audio now? Are we okay?
Yeah, I think it's all right because it's still, popping up on my server.
Well, I thought it was my headphones because your audio kept dipping, so I just assumed it was my headphones, but because it did it yesterday as well. It sounds okay. It sounds fine to me now, but I'm sure people will let us know in the chat anyway. Is Graham Souness finished? No, he's not. Who's the next player that he's mentioned, do you think? Just take a wild guess.
Mason Mount.
Nope, not Mount. That would have been my first guess, to be honest with you. Who's he criticised before?
Casemiro.
He's called a... Yes, Casemiro. So he said, I've been heavily criticised for saying this, but in my view, Casemiro is a steady Eddie. He's a good player, but not one you want to pay money to go and watch. That is one of the worst comments I've ever seen. I would, not even as a United fan, if Casemiro was playing for Brazil at Old Trafford or something against, I don't know, fucking Argentina or whatever, I would 100% go and watch that. Because he is a part of that. He's the captain now for Brazil. Yeah. He's won 20 trophies, including 5 Champions Leagues. He's one of the best players for us last season. He's notoriously a slow starter, which we discussed yesterday. But once he gets up and running, he's still one of the best in the world, for me personally. Yeah. This Steady Eddie title is actually we speak about bad punditry. Then this man gets paid £1,000 for his analysis. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It's called. When I think of steady Eddie, I think Oliver Skip or I think Harry Winks. They're steady Eddies. They're like good professionals who basically average players. Casemiro has been one of the best in his position for about 10 years,
pretty much. Because if you have to look at midfields that have been dominating football for the past 10 years, Casemiro has been in it, and he has dictated the play in that midfield. Him being a slow starter is definitely true, but it doesn't mean that in those 4 games he's been absolutely atrocious. Like, he's been good. Against Nottingham, he was the reason that we won that game. I think even against Wolves, he got overrun, but in his tackling and his interceptions, he's been sharp. He's been absolutely sharp. So, it's a very lazy comment.
Your audio just dipped again. Then is it new? Is it new earphones or something?
1 sec.
That might be why.
1 sec.
No, but I take your point about Casemiro. I think, look, for the money that you bring him in, I don't think you ask any Premier League manager about the fee that we've paid, £60 million. If you would have asked them now, at that time, if you could have had him for that money, would you have taken him? I guarantee every single Premier League manager would have said yeah. Maybe apart from Pep, because you've already got Rodri there. But most managers would take him, and most clubs in Europe would still take him right now. So don't get it twisted. How is it?
I think it's good now. It should be good now.
Yes, I'll let you know if it dips off again. But I don't know if you had anything to add on to the Casemiro point, but
It's still bad. 1 sec. I'll have to fix my mic altogether.
No audio, still bad. Yeah, you work on that. So what I wanted to do for the next part of the show was go through our personal United best starting 11 and why you put players in there for a certain reason. Obviously, this is including even players that are injured now. If we ever get back up to a point where we have everybody available, which I don't think will ever happen, or if it does happen, won't happen until the new year. But my personal starting 11, again, don't know if you agree with this. I don't know if people in the chat agree with this. Onana, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Lissandro, Luke Shaw as your back five. Casemiro, Amrabat, Bruno Fernandes in the midfield. Antony, Højlund and Rashford on the left. Now, you talk about certain individuals. Mason Mount's going to play a huge part. But I think Pellistri is probably going to play a huge part at this point. You never know. We have surprises like Sancho maybe coming back into the team. Eriksen has looked really, really good in international duty and looked good against Arsenal. And then Dalot as well. I thought Dalot would look really good at left back. So I don't know if he'll eventually push up into that spot if he's playing like that. What are your thoughts on the starting 11, Shreyas? Who out of if everybody's available for selection, who would you go for and why?
I think the backline stays. Definitely. I think Onana will definitely be starting. I think maybe in case the case of right back could still be changed. Like, you could be seeing Dalot ahead of Wan-Bissaka. I think that's the only element I would say that maybe a change could be there. But except that Varane is going to be starting, Lissandro is going to be starting, Luke Shaw will definitely be starting. I think once Luke Shaw is back to full fitness and he is fully match fit, I think we'll be seeing shades of last season from him again. Then I think it will be Casemiro, it will be Amrabat, and it will be Bruno. Then it will be, of course, Rashford, Højlund, and I think now that, and we don't have Antony right now, we don't have Sancho right now. So I think it will be Mason Mount on that right wing.
Interesting. I think that's what I mean. I think there's going to be a lot of surprises, isn't there? People always expect a certain thing, but even if you look at last season, we had Ronaldo play there, then we had Martial play there, then we had fucking Weghorst play there. Yeah. So you really don't know what's going to happen. Injuries can happen, suspensions, people come in and maybe they take the spot. Maybe Mount will take Bruno's spot for a bit. Maybe you just never know. You never know. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. David Pearson says Pellistri by complete accident will prove to be what this team has been lacking, a natural right winger who doesn't rely on cutting inside, the only one we have. I think that's a very smart comment. And I think Shreyas would probably agree with that. I want him to start.
Like if there is one player I genuinely want to he makes it his career at Manchester United, it is Pellistri. And now that you've not got Ahmad, you've not got Antony, you've not got Jadon Sancho, the outright winger that you have actually got available in that position is Facundo Pellistri. But I've always seen that Ten Hag has never fancied starting him. in at least in Premier League games. I've seen him starting cross in European games. Sometimes in a cup game, I've seen him feature. But it is very rare that I've seen him, starting games in the Premier League. I don't think he's ever started for us in the Premier League. So taking that into perspective, I think he either shifts Bruno or Mount to the right, at least for now, because I think Bruno can still function off the right hand side, and I think he needs someone as well. I think Pellistri can do an awesome job having someone like Hoyland actually, play centrally. You need someone who can, supply him with those crosses. But what does Ten Hag see in this team? Because you've still got a lot of options to work with. Eriksen can come in the 10. Bruno can come in the 10. Mount can come in the 10. You still got Scott McTominay available at the club as well, who could probably be used in certain games. So I think it is going to be very difficult to actually assess what our right wing and number 10 position will actually look like against Bayern and against Brighton. But if Pellistri gets a start, I think he'll be able to impress a lot of people.
Yeah. You look at players that I haven't mentioned there, like Lindelof, for example, came in, did a great job last season. I didn't even talk about Garnacho. I mean, Garnacho was an impact sub, is one of the best to just come on against tired legs. I think we're going to see a lot of rotation. I think there's going to be players grabbing you by surprise. Sometimes style of football switches up slightly. I remember the start of the season last year, we was trying to play out from the back. We got beat twice by Brentford and Brighton, and then we started going long and switched it up. So you never know. You never know. I think the season's full of surprises, and it's very exciting in that regard. Next 5 games, Shreyas, we've got Brighton at home, Bayern Munich away, Burnley away, Palace at home in the cup, and then Palace again.
Yeah.
I hate playing the same team in a cup game.
Same
playing them. It happened last season, and I'm pretty sure.
Leeds.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it Leeds?
Leeds.
Was that what it was? I was going to say Palace.
No, I think it was Leeds. We first placed them on Old Trafford.
You're right.
Sancho came on, he scored a goal, then we went away.
I was at that game, actually.
Yeah,
I was at the game. The one where we drew 2-2 at Old Trafford.
Yeah, we drew 2-2 at Old Trafford. We won 2-0 at Ellen Road.
Yeah.
So I think I don't fancy playing the same team, in succession, because it just becomes a lot more predictable. It just becomes a lot more, it appears to be, sometimes, a stalemate situation, because you're playing the same team again and again. Most of the players will be the same. Like, it's not going to be, that you can completely shift the dynamic of the team altogether, like field a different 11 altogether. That's not going to happen. So I think it's definitely going to be tough. In the second game against Palace, and Palace have always been a bogey team for us. Even I remember last season we went away and Ulisse scored that free kick. So
last minute, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, Casemiro. Did Casemiro get suspended against Palace as well for that grab on Will Hughes?
Yeah,
grabbed his collar, didn't he?
Yeah,
against Palace. So it's not great.
It's not an ideal team for us.
Out of the 5, that's the one that you look at as well, that you think that's probably the easiest. Them all Burnley are probably the easiest. But I was looking at the stats before. So for Brighton, since the start of the season, they've scored 12 goals, conceded 6, won 3 and lost 1. And that's after losing Caicedo and McAllister, probably the best players. Bayern Munich have scored 9 goals, conceded 2 and won every game since the start of the season in the league, apart from obviously the Super Cup or whatever it was. Burnley have conceded 11 and haven't achieved a single point in the league yet. So that's probably the easiest game. Palace have scored 5 and conceded 4, won 2, drawn 1 and lost 1. They're higher in the league than us at the minute, Palace.
Yeah,
you know that?
Yeah.
How bad is that?
Once again, I think Palace is a fixture that has always, annoyed us whenever we have come up against them since Ten Hag has joined us. And if I look into Bayern, the thing is, you expect something of Bayern already. Like, even before a game starts, you expect a hiccup, happening from Manchester United's end against, Bayern. So even if we lose out on that game, it won't come as much of a surprise as if you lose against a Palace or if you lose against a Burnley. That's a different case altogether. I think Bayern is definitely going to be a tough game. But I think even more than Bayern, I think Brighton will be a much tougher game for us, because with Bayern, you have a sense of how they're going to play now that they've got Harry Kane, and you expect certain kind of transitions and dynamic happening in that game. And I think Ten Hag will be better prepared to come up against a team like a Bayern, because I think for some reason, whenever we're playing against, these bigger teams, most of the times we seem more prepared. We seem, more focused and at it. The games against teams like Brighton, like last season, I think we came against Brighton like 3 times, and at Old Trafford we lost. Going away at the Amex we lost, and the one game against
the away game. Was that when Luke Shaw? It was a
Yeah,
handball.
yeah, and
That was
McAllister
near
got
the
a
end as well,
penalty.
wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my fucking
And
god.
then we
Yeah. Just
lost one
remember
0
that.
in the final
Yeah.
minute again.
Oh.
And then the game that we had in the semi-final of the FA Cup went down to pens. That's
Oh
when
no,
we
I didn't
won.
watch along for that. That was the in terms of I think in terms of blood pressure, that was one of the worst games because I was
So
just like, oh my god,
I think
fucking hell.
out of all these fixtures, Brighton have always been the fixture where we haven't beaten Brighton once in the league since Ten Hag has come
Mm,
in, and that's a big factor. Like we haven't even drawn. At least with Palace, it's a different case altogether. But with Brighton, it's different, and Brighton have started the season very good. Um,
yeah,
and this season, the way they worked around with their attack, I think Solly March has started the season very bright. Mitoma is
underrated.
yeah,
Yeah,
Mitoma has started the
underrated.
season flawlessly as well. And the weirdest part about their number 10 and strike position is you never know who's starting. Whether it will be Pedro, who will be starting in as a striker or as a 10. He's been used in both ways. Welbeck has been used as a 10 in certain games as well. Sometimes you can
Hmm.
see Evan Ferguson starting in those areas. They've also signed, I think, a Dingra, a different. They have signed another winger who's come on and looked very good for them. So Brighton are going to be a very interesting team to come up against, and that's where think because the Champions League is still just starting. Like even if we lose against Bayern, it won't be as much of a pain because you've got Galatasaray coming up.
Copenhagen and
Yeah, you've
Galatasaray.
got other teams coming up, and you can make up for it. If we lose
Well, that's the
against
toughest
Brighton,
game, isn't it?
yeah,
The away game against Bayern Munich's the toughest one out
yeah,
of the
yeah,
out of the
definitely.
group. So even if you go away with a fucking draw in that game, like it's not the end of the world.
Yeah,
Like
it's a
you
big
take that.
getting draws away is a big achievement for us right now because I think when Bayern come to Old Trafford, I think we'll be looking much more confident team because for some reason, at home we are a different team altogether. But I think our position in the Premier League is something that is very, very delicate right now, and if we don't get points against Brighton, it's just going to look a lot more worse because we've
Yeah.
only won 2 games. We've lost 2 games all outright. 5 games and you lost 3 of them altogether. That doesn't really set a good precedent. And
Oh,
I think in the Premier League, we really need to, string some wins together, like 3 to 4 wins on a streak. We need to get it ASAP.
yeah, it's time to get that fucking
Yeah,
momentum going now, isn't
yeah,
it? Dan's Everton's saying I definitely would not play Mount out wide, just like I wouldn't play Bruno out wide. But we've spoken about look. Mount, first and foremost, played some of his best football as an attacking player for
yeah,
Thomas Tuchel in that kind of front three. Whether you like it or not, he did. 10 goals and 11 assists, I think it was. Bruno Fernandes, I get why people don't like him out on the right, but if you want to get balls into the box for Højlund, like we discussed yesterday, then players need to be there because Anthony doesn't cross, Rashford doesn't cross, and they're both selfish players, in my
yeah.
opinion. Lucky Singh says, I hope to see Kobe Mainu and Mason Mount for Brighton. Dan Errington saying Mount won't be back for Brighton. There's a very slim chance, but it's looking like Bayern Munich when he will be back against his old coach, Thomas Tuchel. Diallo out for a while. I think he has surgery on his knee. 4 months, I believe it is.
Yeah.
So from the start of the season, August, September, October, November, he should be back.
Yeah.
And then you're probably looking at December
most
earliest.
likely. Yeah.
To get up to like full fitness again, which is a shame to be honest, because like you want Palestra getting that opportunity. Ahmad equally could have had that opportunity right now as that left-footed inverted winger who can come in and do a job there. Shah Sam's in the chat, big up Shah Sam. Just whilst we're on that winger situation, I did a video on Palestra yesterday for members only. It's the future star for Facundo Palestra. His full come up, his rise to fame, well, you call it fame, whatever you want to call it. He's transferred to Manchester United, how he could potentially fit into the system now and what is in store for him in his future. It's a very good video, did a lot of work on it. But yeah, that is out now for the members if you haven't already watched it already. And Shah Sam is saying, I'm not scared of Bayern under Thomas Tuchel. Yeah, what about, do you feel the same about the Bayern game? Is it, back in the day, when they were winning like fucking, I don't know, they won 4 trophies, didn't they, under Hansi Flick, and then they won a treble, before that as well. So do you have that same feeling about Bayern Munich, or do you think we could go there and do a job?
The thing is, with the kind of 11 that they field now, it is very difficult to score goals against them because they've got Matthias Dillet and they've got Kim Min Jae in that back line. That's a very tough back line to actually break down. Both of them are very strong and agile defenders. Then you've got Kimmich and Goretzka to get through on top of that. And in the attack, you've got the likes of Harry Kane, Gnabry. You've also got Thomas Muller. You've also got Leroy Sané. And on top of that, they've got the young star coming through in Jamal Musiala, who I think is a flawless talent. So right now the way they play, it's a team that might not score that much. Like I would say, in if Bayern have to play a big team, you will be seeing score lines of 1-0 or 2-0. But if they want to play defensive, there is no way you're actually scoring goals against them. It's a very tough team to break down right now. And
Tuchel, isn't it?
yeah,
Tuchel at Chelsea when he was playing with that back five as well. But I don't, to be honest, I haven't watched Bayern Munich a lot, so I'm not really sure how they're playing stylistically in a minute. I will look into that because when we do the previews and stuff. But when he was at Chelsea, they was notoriously hard to beat. I remember even Tuchel's first game, and when he came in against Wolves, before he came in, Chelsea were leaking like a sieve, and defensively he just got them strung up instantly and was like closed all the gaps off. Hardly conceded any shots. So if that is a similar thing, I'm not saying the back five, but a similar thing at Bayern Munich, then you have a German outfit who's quite strong as well with players like Goretzka and Kane, Kim Min Jae. That's going to be a tough fitting in it, in my opinion.
Yeah, it definitely is. Sure. And the thing is, if we actually get a result against Bayern, that will do wonders for our season right now because we need some confidence in we again. I think the moment this team actually gets a big win under their belt, I think that's when this team starts to play much more freely on the pitch, and that's what we really need right now. Of course, having Amrabat in, I think Amrabat might start against them, against Bayern Munich. Yeah, I think if he's fit, he'll start because going away, you need Amrabat. You definitely need Amrabat in that game because we're playing away. You definitely need.
You don't want Eriksen at the fucking Allianz, do you?
Yeah, you don't need. You definitely need him. But you never know. We might be surprised and we might be seeing Kobe Mainoo as well. He's a trump card. So you never know who Ten Hag actually feels. That's why, barring Bruno and I would say Casemiro, that 8 position, or if you want to call it a 10 position again, and that right wing position, it's all up in the air. You can predict all you want.
Even the left back spot at the minute, because Shaw is out. Regulon, Dalot, you don't know who's going to start there, so there is room for rotation. Oh no! I wouldn't. I'm just saying he's an option there, isn't it? Like I wouldn't fucking start him. I wouldn't even play him. I don't know why we loaned him, to be honest with you, because right, let's get a clip then. Give me your prediction, Shreyas, for the next 5 games for Manchester United. Go.
Okay, so Brighton, I think against Brighton we draw. Bayern we draw. Then Burnley will win. Palace will win. I think
in the cup.
In the cup we'll win, and in the Premier League as well we'll win. So it will be 2. I'm thinking 2 draws and 3 wins.
Mine's a bit more pessimistic. I think we draw to Brighton, lose to Bayern Munich, draw to Burnley, win to Palace in the Cup, and then a draw in the league game as well. And that is pessimistic, I get it. But if the start of the season is anything to go off, then that's how I think it's going to go. Unless players like Amrabat come in, settle, Højlund starts bagging a lot of goals, I think we'll be okay. But that's up in the air at the minute. No one knows what's going on.
If it actually happens that way. So right now we've got 4 points. Then Brighton will be 5. Burnley will be 6, and Palace draw will be 7. So you've got 7 games and 7 points.
Not great, is it? Not great. What's everybody else thinking in the chat? Let's have a look. They're going to be a lot more positive than I am. Let's have a look. With how much you guys have been bigging up Amrabat, I'm looking forward to seeing him play for United. Look, we are big fans of him. Everything I've seen from Morocco for Fiorentina, I think he's looked really, really good. Obviously, translating over from the Italian league usually doesn't work, but the type of player that he is, with Ten Hag coaching him before, the engine that he has, I think he'll be a success. It's a good
thing that he's not an attacker that's coming in from this area. And as well, I've seen that clip of him during the World Cup against France that Mbappe was bombing down the wing and Amrabat practically raced him the entire length of the pitch and then slide tackled him at the last moment. So he's got that agility in in his legs. And perhaps, maybe the way we are playing with that, with those 2 10s and just one line lone, that standalone DM, probably Amrabat could be playing in that. Maybe Amrabat, Bruno, and Mount is the way forward for us. Whether it is that or not is still, once again, a different question. Is it Mainoo, Amrabat, and Bruno? Is it Casemiro, Mainoo, and Amrabat? It can shape up in any direction you want. So it's a good thing to have as well, that unpredictability. Teams that you're coming up against won't really be able to predict how you're going to actually line up, barring the defense. Whether you'll be playing with a defensive setup or more, attacking, or just a more proactive setup or more sturdy setup. So it's a good thing to have, having so many alternatives to play in those positions.
Agreed. Shah Sam is saying 4 wins and 1 draw. Lucky Singh saying Dallo will want race up competitions, particularly big games like this. Casemiro, Kobe Mainu, Mason Mount, and Bruno. And Dan saying, so is Amrabat quick then if he went toe to toe with Mbappe? No, I don't think.
You can't say quick.
Not,
he's smart.
No, we're not.
He's very
not
smart.
saying yes. Marking wise and things like that, he's good at. Like, he's not as quick as Mbappe. That's not what we're saying. But we're saying he has the anticipation to recognise what space he's going to go into, and that's what great defensive midfielders had. But he's also quality on the ball. For Morocco, they play a very defensive system. They had that 4-1-4-1, and he was an absolute engine battery in that midfield, just fucking literally crunching everyone, winning the ball back, playing it. For Fiorentina, they have higher possession than most teams in Serie A, so he actually showed off his ball playing ability in that regard. So he's good at both sides of the game, and that's what we need alongside Casemiro. So, yeah. Just, I don't know what that says. Sam, Kyle Walker pace brilliant against Mudryk. Yeah, that was good, to be fair. I watched the England game, and the Mudryk just could not I don't think anyone could do Kyle Walker, to be honest. Right, I remember that battle against France in the not the Euros, in the World Cup. Was it the World Cup, the latest one?
Yeah.
Qatar World Cup, wasn't it? Yeah.
And after that, it was the World Cup.
Against Mbappe, and that was the one match I was looking at. I was like, why have I gone so... One second, look, bloody albino here. No offense to albinos, but I'm just saying, like, I know there. That race between Mbappe and Walker was fascinating. I still think, I know he's a City player, and it kind of annoys me to say it, but I still think Kyle Walker is one of the best.
England actually drew that game against Ukraine.
Oh, I don't even want to talk about that. But shit, England are just shit, man. With the players that Southgate's got at his disposal, I'm happy to admit this now. I always had the thoughts that in international football, when you're playing this tournament football especially, you have to kind of play that kind of Jose Mourinho style of football where it's slightly pragmatic to get results. Even when Spain won it, I think like 3 times, it wasn't the most... I know they're an expanded team in terms of possession and stuff, but it wasn't the most exciting team. France, when they won it in 2018 or whenever it was, they were hitting on counter-attacks and stuff. So that's the approach I thought it makes sense. But when you've got players like Bellingham, Declan, Saka, Rashford, Kane, these kind of guys who are like some of the best talents in the world right now,
even if
you should be winning.
Had these sort of players, if he played defensive, he would be absolutely ruthless in the attack. Like, he wouldn't give any opportunity to his opposition teams to actually, even get back in defense. And with Southgate, I have always, had that criticism that when it comes to the big games, like the biggest games of them all, something, or whether he's unlucky or whatever it is, in the end, England always loses in those big games. He's never
the weird thing is,
those big games.
The weird thing is, though, Shreyas, he's our most successful manager since we last won the World Cup in like 1966. That's the crazy thing. So he's got us to a final. That one against Italy on penalties was just such a who's ever going to go out on anything? It was penalties.
Game that he threw away in Italy's favor.
It was just so bad. Yeah, Luke Shaw scored, and then it was like, sit back, protect it for the rest of your lives, and then they get back into it, and then win on penalties, which is heartbreaking. And then the semi,
especially in finals, when you have a 1-goal lead, you get a 2 or 3 goal lead.
Then I watched the France game at a live park, so a live event with my mates. And when Harry Kane got the penalty, I turned around. I didn't even look at the screen. I turned around to everyone that was behind me and I said, listen, I bet my absolute life that this is going to go in. Because Harry Kane does not miss penalties. I guarantee it. I was so adamant. I was like, he's definitely going to score. And I turned around and everyone went, oh, no, he's fucking missed. And I went, what? I turned around, he skied it. I was like, oh, this is such an England thing to do. This is what we do. This is what we do. Oh. Devastated. Absolutely devastated. So, yeah, I don't have any optimism going into the next tournament with England. I don't care about qualifying. We always win all our qualifying games. Everybody gets hyped up. We get to a tournament. We get to the last 16. And then we lose to one of the big teams. It's just what we do. Until we win something, I will get back excited for England. But until then, United's my only priority at the minute. I couldn't give a bollocks about what England are doing. I really can't. Right, let's touch on the last story. Takeover latest. Jim Ratcliffe has been speaking on an interview with Ineos and 2 of his rich mates. So I don't know whether they have... I believe they have an involvement in the company. But he was sat on a couch, basically, and someone asked him about United, or he was talking about a certain bid. And he said the Manchester United bid would have been unthinkable 2 or 3 years ago if we hadn't had some of the experiences, some quite difficult, such as Nice. You can't really contemplate acquiring a brand like Manchester United and failing because the failure is far too public and excruciating in a deal like that. So that seems like he's going to be publicly embarrassed if he loses out to, to not buy Manchester United. But he mentioned his club Nice there. That isn't a great portfolio for Manchester United fans, is it? If
No,
you look at the work that's been done at Nice, does that fill you with any confidence at all?
no, it doesn't. And that's the thing that has been pointed out so many times during every single time we used to hear that, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid is actually better. And, perhaps it is the bid that is being considered more by the Glazers. It just didn't excite me because I never saw anything great happening at Nice ever since that he's come in. Yeah, they've got
Yeah.
two or three good players, but except that they haven't really been performing that well in League One. But there's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to Sir Jim Ratcliffe actually taking the club, and perhaps providing a direction for it to move forward, because he hasn't actually come out and laid out a plan or anything as to how he wants to structure the club. With the Qataris, the thing is they've actually come out and said what all they're going to do. They're going to restructure. They're going to do this, that. They've actually provided us with bullets and as to how they want to do it. We haven't seen it on any occasion with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Like even now, no one knows what his plan is with the club if he does acquire it. So it's a very uncertain bit from his side. And I think right now the only thing is we still don't even know if the club is even up for sale now or not. Like we don't know anything about it. If it is still up, then one thing that is true is that his bid is behind the Qataris right now, and he hasn't put in a new bid. So if the club is up for sale, he is losing at this moment in time. If the club definitely is not up for sale, then it doesn't matter at all. So
Yeah.
once we actually get a clarity as if that the club is actually being sold, like it is still being up for sale, because we don't know what is actually going on with the takeover. What the Glazers actually want is just 10 billion, which they won't get from any side. Um, and the Glazers themselves, they don't have 3 billion to actually put into the club right now. They don't have 3 billion euros, so they have to take something in. And I don't think the minority investment is anytime going to be helping them out soon, because the Qatari bid is over 5 billion from what I've seen, and any minority investment won't be giving them 5 billion.
The annoying thing is at the moment it's in their hands. Like Qatar are not going to bid anymore. I don't think Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to bid anymore because his offer's there and there's legal issues with that anyway. And obviously they're just going to sit there now because they're there for another year and wait for more, to see if we get Champions League again and more money comes in, new club format and all this kind of stuff. So they could, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think we're going to be here at least until the new year, until we get a real significant update. We had Neil Custis come out and say it'll be done by October, but then we had reports that they're staying on, which then got crushed and said there's still talks ongoing. So no one really knows anything at the minute. I get excited when I see news that they're going to sell naturally, just because I want them to sell the fucking club. I want them to go because I'm sick of the shit. I really, really am sick of the shit, especially when we're reporting and talking about it every day and you're getting dragged left, right, and centre. Really want them to go, and that's why I tend to, when something positive comes out that they're going to leave, I tend to latch onto it because I just feel like I want them to go that bad.
Yeah.
I'm willing to take on anything and be like, hopefully this is going to happen now, but we've been dragged through the mill with it, haven't we? J. Moggrogan says, I'd just like to see England not waste the opportunities they had. Beckham 98, Rooney 10 or 12 years later, and Kane missing a pen. Exactly. England are perennial bottlers, serious PTSD. Yeah, they are. We are, should I say. I saw links the other day with Pep Guardiola managing England. I was like, that's never going to happen. I don't think it'll happen anyway, but who knows? Maybe Pep will want to go win a World Cup or something. Fuck knows. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I think we're going to leave it there, guys. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Get your comments in, leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel. I mentioned the members video dropped last night on Palestra. If you want to go check that out and become a member, click the link in the description or click join next to the notification bell. Make sure you drop us a follow on social media. And if Shreyas has anything else to say, any final words, we can head off.
If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure to subscribe. We've made it past 3,300 subscribers, so we hope to hit 3,500 pretty soon, and then journey to 4,000 and so on. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe to the channel.
Yes, sir. We'll see you guys. If anything breaks later, we'll go live for it, of course. Until then, see you in the next one. Peace.